Okay, so today I'm going to go over the top 10 diet changes and hacks you can make. Let's get into it. Okay, so I broke this down into two categories. The first five, and I have them over here, that's why I'm looking over here, are item like swaps you can make. So you'll understand what I mean when I get into those. And then the next five are more just like overarching changes that you can make that aren't really like applicable to like one specific meal per se, but are just more like universal. So let's go over the five swaps and I'll explain why they're so helpful, and then we'll go into the other five. So the first one is if you eat tortillas, first of all, I personally think like mission tortillas are just the best. So when I'm bulking, I eat the burrito tortillas. So the really big ones, and those are 210 calories. So typically I'll use those for like quesadillas or if I'm making burritos, right? So those are solid for when you're bulking, but when you're cutting, you should switch to I typically switch to the protein tortillas that Mission has. Those are 70 calories a piece. So like when I make quesadillas, let's say, right? I'll make 2 quesadillas using the burrito ones. That's 410 calories. But to use up the same amount of chicken and cheese and to make the same number of individual pieces, you can just use 3 of the smaller protein tortillas, and that's only 210 calories. So you're saving 200 calories right there on your meal just by switching over the tortillas. So that is genuinely, like, every time I start cutting, that's one of the first changes I make, literally, because it's just such a quick change and it's so easy and saves you so many calories. And it's also nice for when I'm bulking, so I switch to the burrito ones because it's a great way to get in so many more calories very easily. So, and also, I guess for the first 5 of these, if you wanted to use this to bulk, you could just do the opposite of what I'm saying. So the next one is whatever bread you're eating, switch to, the brand I use is 647 bread, the number 647 bread, or just any like 40 calorie bread. Because the amount of literally like the average slice of bread is somewhere between 80 to 110 calories per slice. 647 bread is 40 calories per slice. So like, for example, this week for lunch, I'm having like chicken sandwiches when I go to lunch or at work, right? So I'm going to use 4 pieces of bread to make 2 sandwiches. That I'm usually a pretty hungry person. So if I use like a regular piece of bread, let's be generous and say I only use an 80 calorie slice. That's 360, yeah, right? No, that's 320 calories for those 4 slices of bread. Whereas if I switch to 647, it is 160 calories for 4 slices. Like, that is another massive difference. I just saved myself, what is that, like around 160 calories? Like, that's a massive change. That's just in like one meal, you know? And if you make a couple other changes, like that's already like your amount cutting for the day, or the deficit you should be in. So personally, as I said, I use the 647 bread, but if there's a different brand that you want to use, obviously go for it. I don't really care, but try and have it at 40 calories. Like I've seen some brands at like 45, that's fine. But like once you start going to higher than that, like you're just not saving calories when you can be. So the next one is like an overarching change. I typically switch from eating pasta to eating more rice, just because I feel like rice tends to be more dense. Because I would say like the macros on pasta to rice aren't that different, but like for the portion it is. Like the amount of rice you get for the same amount of calories compared to pasta is a lot more. So typically, like I feel like you could just have like a half cup of rice, which is I believe typically like 180 calories. Whereas like if you have 2 ounces of pasta, it's technically a serving, I believe, and that's like 180 calories too. So like the calories are equal, but like most people don't only eat 2 ounces of pasta. They're going to eat more than that. Whereas with the rice, that's actually like a solid amount of rice. Like it's a very fitting serving. So it's just an easier way to switch to still feel as full, but like not have to eat as many calories. So just switching from pasta to rice. Definitely a good one. Do be careful though, because you definitely can overeat rice. Carbs in general are just easy to like just sit there and keep plowing through and eating them. So be careful with that. The next one is, I wouldn't say so it's switching from eggs to egg whites. But I wouldn't say to entirely cut out eggs. It's more like, this is actually what I do every morning, is I make scrambled eggs every morning. So I do 1 or 2 eggs and then the rest with egg whites. I want the equivalent of like 4 eggs, but I do half and half. Or you could just do entirely egg whites. I personally, for whatever reason, I like the way my scrambled eggs taste better when it has at least an egg in it rather than just the egg whites. So right now I was doing 2 eggs and egg whites for breakfast because I was bulking. I could do all eggs, but I also know eggs are kind of expensive right now, so that's why I've been doing that. But I'm probably going to go back to just using 1 egg and egg whites because I'm starting to cut. So it's an easy way so to get the equivalent amount, 1 egg is 70 calories, and the equivalent amount of egg whites is 25 calories. So it's almost like a 1-to-3 ratio on a per calorie basis. So egg whites truly do just save you a lot. So that's another one. Next one, this is a little bit of a smaller change, but I feel like it'll add up over like a week, where a lot of the changes I've showed you so far can be like calorically noticed over a day. This one will probably be a little bit more like a week time frame, as in like the calories will add up over a week. But switching from regular cheese to like reduced fat or fat-free cheese, typically, if I am remembering my numbers correctly, it'll probably save about like 20 to 30 calories a serving, which is pretty solid. So that one's not going to be like a life-changing one, but if you're eating something with like an excessive amount of cheese and it has like 3 servings of cheese, right? Then if you're saving 20 to, let's say 25 calories per, that's still saving 75 calories right there. Like that's a solid amount. That's a start to hitting into your deficit. So it's definitely worth making the change. Personally, I don't taste the difference at all. So it's definitely a change I'd make once I am cutting, but that's definitely, I'd say, the smallest of the ones so far. Like at least numerically, like calorically, it's just going to be the smallest. So the next one, I need some water. Give me a second. Okay, the next one is honestly just eat more veggies in general. Veggies, and I would even include fruits in this. Fruits and veggies are not very calorically dense. Like there's certain ones you definitely should pick out, like cucumbers, watermelon. Those aren't very. Celery is another good one. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Those are probably 3 of the better fruits and vegetables that aren't calorically dense. So they're not high calorie, but you can eat a lot of. They're really great because volume is like a big thing. So in general though, when I switch to start cutting, I'll typically lessen the portion of whatever I'm eating, but increase my amount of veggies. And just, the way I think of meals is I think there's the main dish and then my veggies are like my side. So whatever the main thing is, I'll typically decrease slightly. Still want to be hitting my protein and everything, but I'll decrease that slightly and increase the amount of fruits and veggies I'm eating. Like for example, while I was bulking, my snack when I got home from school before my workout was like a bagel with cream cheese or butter with some fruit. Now it's just like an apple and maybe like some cantaloupe or whatever. So it's just switching to eating more fruit in general because it's less calorically dense, especially if you're eating certain fruits and veggies. They're high in fiber, which is going to fill you up as well. So just a simple switch you can do. Drinking water before your meals. Because a lot of times people's biggest issue with cutting is like they want to eat more food. If you just drink like at least 16 ounces of water within like the 30 minutes before a meal, you're just going to be more full. I've noticed this like myself. Like whenever I know a meal's coming up, I'll try and just drink some water or something beforehand so that your stomach already has some volume in it so that there's just less space in your stomach in general. I definitely try and do this, like especially at work. Like I'll notice like a little bit before my lunch, like, oh, let me start drinking a little bit more water, pick up the pace. And it's just like a quick and easy thing. Also, just staying hydrated in general is good. So you probably should be doing this anyway and just drinking a lot of water throughout the day. But especially doing it a little bit before meals, it'll make it so that you are full a little easier. Next one kind of goes with it, diet sodas. Diet sodas, like when you drink them, the carbonation will genuinely like make you, for me, I've used them to like push off meals a little bit. Like I don't do it as much anymore because I'm trying to limit my carbonation right now. But I used to do it for like about in between lunch and dinner. I'd usually get hungry like an hour and a half before I was actually ready for dinner, like the time I was supposed to eat. So I started having like a diet soda. I did Sprite Zero like an hour, hour and a half before dinner. And almost every time it would tide me over for at least 45 minutes to an hour. And then either it was just time to eat, or it would give me that I would only be hungry then for like 20 minutes and pushing it off before I ate rather than an hour and a half. So diet sodas, just like that carbonation, really helps fill up your stomach and give you that sensation of being full in a sense. So that's another great diet hack. Next one, I don't know if I've ever heard anyone talk about this, but this one works really well for me. I will grab a piece of gum pretty much as soon as I can the second I'm done with a meal, because once I start chewing gum, I like won't eat anymore, obviously, because I'm chewing gum. But like a lot of times after a meal, I'm like, I want to still eat, especially like chips or something salty, right? But if you just start chewing gum, for me, usually that like entirely curbs my cravings. There's probably something to the fact that I'm chewing, because you're still doing that same repetitive motion. So there's probably some type of science in there of like that being a thing. I don't know. But for me, that's been one of the biggest ways to like cut my cravings is the second I'm done with dinner, I try and head upstairs to my room where there's no food and chew gum while I'm doing whatever. And for me, that's been a great way to like cut cravings in general. The last one is about meal timing, and it's having more smaller meals. I know a lot of people with jobs, this is kind of hard, but if you have a job where you can kind of like eat at your desk pretty easily, I would highly recommend switching and eating even up to like 5 or 6 meals a day, but doing smaller meals and just spacing them out. So it's like you're eating every like 3 hours. Because I know this is a thing for me. Like I get hungry very quickly. Usually like 3 hours after my last meal, I'm probably starting to get hungry. So for me, it makes my life so much easier when I do more smaller meals throughout the day, because then I'm never getting to like that hunger point that can be so difficult while cutting. Because like if I had to just wait, like I'm now just sitting there for like an hour and a half just starving. Like that sucks. But if you have more smaller meals, it kind of makes it so you don't have that sensation of being like starving all the time, you know? These are 100% my 10 biggest diet changes and like hacks in general. Genuinely implement a lot of these. Like they're all pretty simple to implement and pretty basic. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you learned something. I hope you can start using these. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you next Sunday at 5 p.m. Catch you there.